All right, I'm moving on with the news. The city of Bamenda was a tense one yesterday, and this is because of the people that were killed. Now, a large public to Cameroon military truck knocked down a bike, killing two people on board the bike. Of course, it is far from being a mere accident, but an intentional act carried out by the terrorist forces of, President Paul Biya. For it is not the first time such an international or such an intentional act of crushing of civilians by them is happening. After parading the streets of their killed colleagues, the bike riders finally took the cops to Upstation, the hub of La Republic de Cameroon local administrative offices and residences, where they were received by the colonial SDO for Mazam.
Well, thought not conceived by the flimsy explanation and justification from the colonial senior divisional officer Simon Emile Mo, the bike riders retired with the cops to the Bamenda Regional Hospital mortuary, convinced that the message has reached the right quarters. The message is that no amount of occupational forces can stop a determined Ambazonian front. Why was the colonial La Republique du Cameroon's military unable to stop the bike riders from parading with the cops?
Well, an atmosphere of what many say is relatively calm has replaced the tense atmosphere that engulfed Bamenda and its environs following an accident many feared would plunge the town into chaos. In the early hours of Wednesday, that's yesterday, April 12th, the Bamenda food market experienced a tense situation after what eyewitnesses described as a colonial La Republique de Cameroon van hit a bike that was descending from the fish pond hill carrying a lady. Report says the bike rider died on the spot, while the lady she was transporting or he was transporting was rushed to a health facility and also died later.
Well, according to a witness, the terrorist officers did not show any signs of regret after realizing what they had done. And quoting someone who opted for anonymity, he says they spoke to us as if the victims deserved what happened to them. Their behavior was inhumane instead of seeing how the injured could be rushed to the hospital, said an eyewitness, and the town became tense when the body of the young man was taken from the accident scene and paraded around major streets of Bamenda, with many joining the protest along the way. They passed through Food Market, Commercial Avenue, and Ngangs Junction, where they were accompanied by hundreds of bikers and other sympathizers from Nkwane as they continued to upstation Bamenda to present the trophy of colonial police forces to their superiors. At this juncture, those familiar with the story said the numerous extortion security checkpoints, which have been widespread in Bamenda, disappeared. Stanley, whose car was almost vandalized at Ngangs Junction, had this to say: I only realized that forces of law and order stationed along the stretch used by the protesters suddenly disappeared. It was difficult to even say how it happened.
Well, at Up Station, the angry motorcyclists were addressed by the Colonial Senior Divisional Officer for Mizam, Simeon Emile Mo, who assured them that investigations would be opened to get to the root of the matter. He also invited the riders to designate 5 persons to have a talk with him on Thursday, that's tomorrow. Many of the motorcyclists could be heard grumbling when it was announced that the matter was going to be investigated, given the word investigation has always been a softer way to close an affair in La Republique du Cameroon. Well, we are now targets, as if to say we are the problem. Investigations have been opened on many crimes against civilians. What has been the result? Hope you know what happened when a young girl was killed at Mile 2 Junction, where the officer, the colonial governor said, was arrested. Now, this is what one writer asked.
Well, Wednesday's incident has only added to the many that have gone unreported. A journalist in Bamenda said one of his relatives is still undergoing medical observations after she was hit by an armored car some months back on a motorbike in Intarincon. With all these happenings and the population yet to see justice being done, there are fears that such actions would rather shake the fragile peace that is prevalent in Bamenda and its environs.
All right, well, moving on. La Republique de Cameroon begs to be readmitted into the AGOA. Nothing indeed can be hidden under the sun. Technology is possible even with satellite images to ascertain the veracity of an act in a particular location. All the atrocities and the human rights violation actions of La République du Cameroon on the people of Southern Cameroon are evident both at home and among the international community. Opting for a military option to tackle their Amazonian fight, La République du Cameroon only preferred the community for more havoc on Amazonia. Having been pushed out of the African Growth and Opportunity Act AGOA for crimes against humanity, La République du Cameroon is today, with all the atrocities she is still committing in Amazonia, begging to be readmitted. What makes La République du Cameroon think she will be readmitted with what she is doing to Amazonia?
Well, over 2 years after the U.S. removed La République du Cameroun as a member of the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, the country is pleading to be readmitted as an economic crisis largely exacerbated by the war in Europe and the war in the Anglophone regions continues with no end in sight. La République du Cameroun's colonial economy minister, Alamine Ousmane, said the La Republic of Cameroon government is in talks with Washington to get membership into the organization, which allows member states in sub Saharan Africa to export goods to the US duty free. La République du Cameroon was kicked out of the organization in late 2019 by the Trump administration following, quote, persistent and credible reports of human rights abuses, including extrajudicial killings in the far north of the country and also in Amazonia by La République du Cameroon's colonial military personnel. Citing a report by Human Rights Watch, it was the second significant action the US was taking against La République du Cameroon in the same year, having significantly cut back on military assistance to La République du Cameroon because of right abuses in February of the same year.
La République du Cameroon, which had been a member of the AGOA, is seeking to readmit into the organization to help boost its economy, which has been hard. It's not just been hard, it's been hard hit as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, the war in Ukraine, which affected the global economy, and the weekly lockdowns in Amazonia, which have adversely affected the overall economy of the country, slowing La République du Cameroon's ability to repay its debts. According to International Monetary Fund, the IMF predictions, La République du Cameroon will only witness a 4.3% growth, making membership in the AGOA crucial to boost the economy. Well, on the other hand, Tibonaj asks in a tweet why they wanted to be part of the AGOA. He asked if they had solved the Southern Cameroonian issues. Now, with the tweet, he said surprised that the US government started discussions with Cameroons about the country's regaining AGOA eligibility. Has the Cameroon's government's human rights practices improved? Has government done anything serious to end the Anglophone crisis? Has government done anything to lessen corruption? Well, your answer is as good as mine.